I want to talk about art months. Over the past 9 years, I've joined in with over 21 different art month events, usually lasting a month, but sometimes a little bit longer. I've learned a huge amount and developed so many skills by joining in with these events, so I'm hoping that by sharing my experience with you, you can get some inspiration to maybe join one yourself, or just make some art, because that's what this is all about. So what is an art month? Well, it's an event that lasts a month, but sometimes a little bit longer, has some kind of theme, and usually, but not always, a list of prompts that pertain to each day of the event. So in the case of the Rainworld Art Month, which is a fan art event I've joined in with for the past 7 years, they have prompts relating to the video game Rainworld, which the event revolves around. So that could be a character, an environment, a prop, or even an achievement relating to the game. Now, having a prompt for every day of the event would suggest you have to make a finished piece of art every day. I certainly do, and I like to do that when I join in with these events, but it is not a requirement. I know people who only join in for 1 or 2 of the prompts of the month, and sometimes they combine them as well, so that they can create something, but even if they don't have the time to join in every day, you're still able to take part. Now, why would I want to join in with one of these events? Well, they are a fantastic opportunity to develop skills. I like to pick 1 or 2 things to focus on during the art month, and then I'll push myself to put the knowledge and studies that I've done regarding those skills into practice. It's also a fantastic opportunity to practice discipline. Making a finished piece of art every day is no easy task, especially if you've not done that before or haven't been doing it regularly. So by doing this, it shows and proves to myself that I can make a piece of art every day and be consistent with it. These events are also to have fun. I join in with events like the Rainworld Art Month and the Hollow Knight Art Month, which are fan art events, because I really love those games and I want to make art of those games. Now, what about my experience with these events? I'm going to use the Rainworld Art Month as the example for this because it's the one I've joined in with most consistently over the years and has impacted my art journey the most. So when I first joined in with this event, I joined in on a whim. I hadn't been doing art very consistently up until that point. I saw it pop up on social media and thought, this is the perfect opportunity for me to prove to myself that I can make the art that I want to make, and also make art pertaining to one of my favorite games of all time. So I really pushed myself to use skills I'd been avoiding, such as perspective, color, and lighting, and putting my knowledge into practice. All of the studies I'd done for the past many years before that, that I hadn't necessarily been practicing to the best of my ability, I decided that I'd use this event as an opportunity to give it a go, see if I could do it. And I did. I gained so much self-belief by doing this and proving to myself that I can make the art that I want to make. It felt amazing. However, despite that, there were a lot of struggles. So the process of painting, I felt constant doubt in my abilities. And I suppose that's only natural. I'd never joined in with something like this before. I maybe committed a little bit hard to this event, making a finished piece of art every day and spending many hours working on each piece. As such, I actually found that quite tricky to justify. It is fan art after all. I can't really do anything with it, or at least I couldn't at the time. And the broad range of themes and subjects really did highlight the fundamentals in art that I'd neglected. For instance, anatomy and perspective, and definitely material rendering. I feel like all of my art from that time was very much, all the surfaces looked very similar to each other, rather than having their own unique and accurate or believable appearances. And I still struggled after the event was over to create my own original art. When I'm making fan art, I was able to look at the game and use that as reference, and I didn't have to create these original designs for creatures or characters. I was just interpreting this 2-dimensional game into a 3-dimensional scene, which was a challenge in itself, but it's not as hard as having to come up with all of the ideas for yourself. It is definitely something I experienced as a result of doing a fan art event. So if you do one of those yourself, just keep that in mind. Keep making your own original art as well, and exercise your imagination in terms of design. It's all original art, just to be clear. Fan art is still original art. It's just not an original concept, I guess is for want of a better word, intellectual property, basically. Now, in each subsequent year, I strive to overcome the struggles of the previous year. So the second year was fantastic, and I noticed a huge jump in my skill level since the first. Particularly in the rendering, I feel like I really improved in my material depictions and the believability of those. But I did fail to address the struggle of the process of painting. And the constant doubt that I experienced was even worse. I think maybe I committed even harder to this event in the second year, perhaps because of the expectations I'd set myself in the first. I'd done so exceptionally well compared to what I'd done before, and I felt like I had to do better to one-up myself, especially after a good reception from the community of the Rainworld fandom. I set my personal expectations a little bit too high. And imposter syndrome was definitely something I experienced as a result of this expectation regarding the reception to the community. I thought people would think I'm not a proper artist if I wasn't able to do better than I did in the previous year, I suppose. In subsequent years, I definitely felt my skill level improved at a slower pace than it had in the previous year, and I did still struggle to improve the process of the painting. My expectations and the amount of time I was spending on the painting were only increasing. And this is all stuff that I can control. I can control how much time I put into the painting. I can control my own expectations to an extent. But because I wasn't monitoring these, I wasn't keeping myself in check, I did struggle. And I thought I might address the time sink problem, the justification of how much time I was spending on fan art, particularly with the Rainworld event, but also the Hollow Knight Art Month as well, was that I could maybe make merch with this art, so then it wouldn't just be off into the wind, into social media to sit there and do nothing, really. I'd also have a product to release at the end of it, be it prints or an art book. Art books. Books. There's still 1 week left to get this year's Rainworld art book that I made, which features all of the art that I've made in this year's Rainworld Art Month. The other book that I was showing was last year's art book, which is also still available this year as well. So if you want to get your hands on this even, you've got 1 week left to get it. I'm sorry I didn't get this video made any sooner, but it is what it is. It's there if you want it. It definitely helped to make these products at the end. I felt far more justified in spending all of this time on one particular project for a month. But it did exacerbate my expectations problem, because not only was I now trying to one-up my previous skill level for the past year to do better in that regard, but also each piece of art had to be good enough to sell as a product. Good enough is incredibly subjective, and I struggle with perfectionism, so it didn't help in that respect, but I'm improving with that, and that is a topic for another time. Having said that, in recent years, I have improved how long I spend on each piece of art. For instance, in 2024, my average time spent on a painting was a little over 7 hours for the Rainworld art event anyway. In 2025, I reduced that to just below 6, and this year, 2026, I've got it under 5 hours on average per painting. Now, that might not sound like a lot. That's still a lot of time to spend on a painting, but for a finished painting each day, and to go from 7 hours to under 5 hours in 2 years, that's amazing. And I couldn't be happier with the progress that I've seen. So that's my experience with the Rainworld Art Month specifically. The other art months have been somewhat similar, although with them I take a slightly more casual approach. For instance, the Hollow Knight Art Month, I use that as a way to experiment with my art style and see what I can come up with there, as opposed to the Rainworld Art Month, where I'm usually aiming for a very similar style year on year and for that consistency. And with things like Stream Ink, which is an Inktober alternative I've joined in with for the past 5 years or so, not every year, but for most of them, I'll practice my traditional ink and storytelling skills. That brings me on to my takeaways from doing these art events for the past 9 years. The biggest one for me is seeing the measurement of progress. It is fantastic, in my opinion, to have this library of measurement of progress to look back on. I can go back and look at any of the art events from the past 9 years and see how far I've come, because I've joined in with them so consistently. So the Rainbow Art Month, I've joined in for 7 years. The ink-based art months I've joined in with for almost all of the past 9 years. There've been a few where I didn't, but that allows me to see each area that I've been practicing. So the digital art, the traditional art, the lighting, the color, the perspective. I can look at all these things that I've been focusing on in these various events and see the progress. And it's so motivating because it makes me realize that I am improving, which can be really hard to tell when you're not looking backwards at what you've made before, or even if you're just looking back at the past year. It's like, oh, I remember that piece of art. I did it last week. Like, oh, I haven't improved at all. But progress doesn't happen in a short space of time. It happens over years of study and practice. And so doing these art events consistently over time gives you a fantastic way of measuring your progress. They're also fantastic for giving you a reason to create and also a starting point to go from. If an art month pops up in your social media feed, you go, oh, I could join in with that. I've always wanted to make fan art for that game, or oh, I've always wanted to try that medium. Then you should jump on that motivation. It's a great reason to make something, to practice your skills, to have fun, and through the prompts, they give you a starting point to go from, so you can focus more on making the art rather than coming up with the idea. You still have to come up with the idea, obviously, for your painting, but you have a good starting point, which can be the stepping stone to making the piece of art. I know in the past I've struggled with coming up with something from nothing. It can be really hard to look at a blank canvas and go, idea, but having a prompt or even a theme or a game to base it on already is a massive help. Now, perhaps the most important takeaway I have, aside from the measurement of progress, is that you need to be careful with your mindset and your expectations going in. As I explained from my experience, I've struggled with both of these things because the risk of developing things like stagnation of ideas, art block, or even burnout is very high. I've come so close to burnout after these events because I overcommitted myself, or I took it too seriously, or I set my expectations too high and didn't meet them. That's why it's so important to be careful with your mindset when you go into the event to begin with. And just keep yourself in check constantly. If you feel things getting too much, take a break. Remind yourself that it's just a bit of fun. It's okay not to finish a piece of art every day, or even do that. Don't do every prompt. Just join in with one or two to take it a little bit more casually. They are for fun after all. Now, aside from that, they are a fantastic opportunity for challenging yourself, challenging your skills, pushing yourself, and certainly in my case, proving to yourself that you can make the art that you want to make. So many times in these events, I'll have finished it, look at the work that I've made and go, wow, I made that? It doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen with every art piece. I'm not going to be happy with every single thing that I make. It's just not how art works. But seeing that I can do what I sometimes tell myself I can't do is so motivating and inspiring to myself. I think every artist should join in with an art month at least once. There are tons of events to choose from as well. So if you don't feel like doing fan art for a game, or maybe you don't like ink, there's all sorts of things. Plan April, Hollow Knight Art Month, Mermaid, a range of ink-based events that take place in October, among other events that take place for dragons, fantasy, sci-fi. There's loads. I'm currently joining in with the Hollow Knight Art Month, which is another fan art event, and I'm having a great time with it. So go join one. Do it. Go make art. And don't forget, if you like my work, you can currently buy my book on my website, which will be linked in the description or put on screen now. I don't know how long I'm holding this for. You can also get last year's art book as well. Don't forget. 31 lovely pieces, and it's a great way to support me. If you like my work, if you like what I do, buy my book, and it'll really help me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.